I just got done watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I have a lot of thoughts on the film. I'm going to start off with no spoilers, and then in the second half of the video, or whenever I get to that part of the video, I will be talking about the spoilers. So let's talk about the non-spoilers in the movie, and I'll just give my thoughts, and I'll give it like a rating for the movie. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is really good, and it's a very emotional movie. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a couple times in this movie. I'm not someone that really like balls out crying for movies. I don't know if I ever did that. I might have, but I do sometimes tear when something's very emotional, and I've got emotional a couple times in this movie. This movie got me a little choked up, and not too many movies have that kind of reaction from me. So congratulations, James Gunn. You got me to tear up a little bit. Also, the action in this movie, I think, is the best out of all of the Guardians movies. I think the action is incredible at times in this movie. There's one scene in particular, not going to give any spoilers. The action just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap, I think this might be one of the best superhero action scenes of all time. It was like really, really good. I do have a couple complaints when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but I do mostly enjoy this movie. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's as good as the first movie, and I think the first movie is really good. The only negatives I have for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is I think it's a little too long. I think they could have shaved off about like 15 minutes. But it's James Gunn's final Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so I appreciate every minute we got with the characters. Also, I feel like this is the most James Gunn we've gotten from an MCU movie. Like, I feel like the MCU allowed James Gunn to have a bit more of creative freedom with this movie, and I felt a lot more James Gunn's voice within this movie. And the MVPs of this film is Rocket, Mantis, and Drax, in my opinion. Also, I have one more negative, and it's something with the ending of the film. I was kind of unsatisfied with something that they did to wrap up a story. Try not to give too much details, but there's just one thing where I was just a little disappointed. Actually, I'm kind of more than a little disappointed. I'm pretty disappointed with one of the ways they wrapped something up, but it's really not a big thing. And at the end of the day, I think this is a really good film. I think it's as good as the first movie, definitely better than Volume 2. I'm not the biggest fan of Volume 2. I think it's alright, and it's nothing like the first movie in my opinion. I think the first movie is really good. I think the second movie is alright. I think this one is really good, just like the first movie. And I'm definitely going to be rewatching this movie again. And one more thing I just want to highlight, the villain of this movie is really good as well. I would say he's one of the best MCU villains of all time. And the performance by the actor, who I can't pronounce his name, did a really great job. And also, I knew him from Peacemaker. He was pretty good in Peacemaker, but I did not know he had this potential of playing such a great villain. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is a really good film, and it's my second favorite MCU film post Endgame. I do like Spider-Man No Way Home more, but both are really good superhero films. I have Spider-Man No Way Home as my 12th favorite superhero movie of all time, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 would probably be at 17th. Guardians 1 is 16th. Guardians 3 is 17th, I think. I gotta really think about it, but I definitely know Spider-Man No Way Home is my 12th favorite superhero movie of all time. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is really good, and it's definitely on my list of the top 20 favorite superhero movies of all time. They're both really good, and I'm hoping for the MCU to have more really good things in the future, because recently the MCU has been missing more than it has been hitting, in my opinion, especially on the TV side of things. But I'm just happy to enjoy something in the MCU again since No Way Home, but everything after No Way Home has just been mostly mid. I did like Black Panther 2, to be fair, but I think that was a good movie. Nothing like great, like classic MCU phases 1 through 3, which had a lot of great stuff in it. Had some bad stuff in it too, but like I said, the MCU has been missing more than it has been hitting, and I just glad Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got the bad taste that was Ant-Man 3 out of my mouth, because that film really was just such a disaster in my opinion. I rewatched Ant-Man 3 the other day because I was like, maybe I was too harsh on it. I rewatched it and I dislike it even more. And yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is just a really good film, a really good MCU film, really good superhero film, and I'm glad that the MCU gets a win. Also, it's a shame that James Gunn is officially leaving the MCU after this, but this does mean he is moving to the DC universe. Hopefully Warner Brothers doesn't mess with his vision too much, but I can't wait to see what James Gunn does next. And I'm wishing the best for him and his DC universe. And on the MCU side of things, I'm hoping for the MCU to get back on track, starting with this movie. It's probably not going to be this movie where things are going to start hitting again more than missing, or I could be wrong, and most of the MCU projects moving forward will be hits. I don't think Captain Marvel 2 will be a hit. I mean, it looks alright, to be honest with you. I was expecting Captain Marvel 2 to look a lot worse, but it actually looks kind of decent. The Nick Fury show looks badass. And also, future Marvel projects are apparently getting delayed and getting extra work done on them to make sure they're the best that they could possibly be. At least that's what we think is going on. But yeah, for right now, this is a win for Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will make you feel every single emotion possible, funny, sad, will make you tear up from sadness and from the comedy. And I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a 90%. Alright, let's talk about some spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Alright, we're entering spoiler territory. You have been warned. Alright, let's first talk about Rocket Raccoon because he is one of the many great things about this movie. His entire backstory was just really tragic, and there was a couple moments where his story made me tear up a bit. I really thought that he was going to die in this movie. I know the trailers were leading to that conclusion, but just based off of what was going on in the film, I thought at some point, like near the end, he was going to die. But no, he just ends up leading the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of an interesting, I think that's a plot twist. Well, not plot twist. It's like a subverting your expectation, and I'm really happy that he didn't die. I'm really happy that none of them died. I know some people were predicting that half of them were going to die. I really thought Rocket and Drax was going to die, possibly Nebula too. But no, I'm actually pretty surprised. All of them survived. All of them get happy ever after endings. I kind of think Drax might have needed to die. I think that would have been a proper ending for him. But I'm satisfied with his ending. The only ending I'm not satisfied with is Star-Lord's ending, which is kind of an ending because if you watch the post-credit scene, they say he will return. I'm guessing he's going to be returning in Secret Wars, or maybe he'll get his own spin-off. Not really sure what the future of Star-Lord is. I really thought his character would have been done after this movie, and I kind of think it should be done after this movie. But it is what it is. I'm just really happy that he didn't die. Because there was a moment there near the end where I really thought they were going to kill him off, and I was about to be really upset. But no, he survives, and he gets a happy ever after with him reuniting with his family until the next time we see him again, because they said that he will return in the post-credit scene. When will we see him return, or what will it be like? I'm not really sure. My guess is we will see Star-Lord again in Secret Wars. And also another thing with Star-Lord, I really feel like he wasn't really in this movie. I don't want to say he wasn't really in this movie because he wasn't. They did give him a good amount of things to do. They dealt with him being an alcoholic, which was kind of interesting for an MCU movie. But he wasn't the main character. I mean, I felt like Rocket Raccoon was the main character, and everyone else had a lot more focus than Star-Lord did. Maybe I'm just not remembering things right, but it felt like every other character got more focus than Star-Lord. And that's not to say Star-Lord didn't get any focus. Like I said, they did explore some things with his character, but it seemed like they were more focused on everyone else. Not everyone else. I mean, Groot didn't have more screen time than Star-Lord did. It just felt like Drax, Mantis, and Rocket Raccoon were the main focus for this movie. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just noticed that Star-Lord didn't get the normal amount of screen time that he would have gotten. Like in the previous two movies, he felt like the main character. In this movie, kind of feels like they sidelined him a little bit for other characters. And I think it worked. And I'm not complaining or anything. That's what I noticed. And with the ending of Star-Lord, I did like that he got to reunite with his old family and with his grandfather. And like I said, I am glad that they didn't kill Star-Lord off. I do feel like this should have been the last time we ever saw Star-Lord. But yeah, the one thing I wish they did with Star-Lord is I wish they got him together with Gamora. I think the perfect ending for both Gamora and Star-Lord was to have like Gamora get her old memories back somehow. I don't know what they would have done. I think they should have had Gamora get her old memories and remember her time with the Guardians and become this new version of Gamora, like mixed with the old memories and this new past version of Gamora, and she becomes something a bit new. And at the same time, I believe she should have ended up with Star-Lord at the end, and they could have lived happily ever after, maybe have family or whatever. That's what I always thought the perfect ending for Star-Lord and Gamora would have been, but she ended up with the Ravagers, and he ended up going back home and possibly going on future adventures at some point. Yeah, and that's like the main thing I would say I was disappointed with. It's just the way Star-Lord's character ended and Gamora's character ended. A better happy ever after ending wouldn't be what we got with Gamora and Star-Lord, and it's sad that they're not going to be together. I mean, they kind of hinted at it in the movie that they did have feelings for each other, even with this new version of Gamora. Maybe they'll do something with what they hinted at with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in a future Star-Lord spin-off or Secret Wars or something. But I think I saw somewhere that Zoe Saldana is done with playing Gamora and done with the MCU. I could be wrong, but if that's the case, then that's just the end of Gamora, and that's just the end of their relationship. So I really love what they did with Rocket in this movie, and he's an MVP. And then other MVP for me in this movie is Mantis, and I love her friendship with Drax. I thought it was really sweet. I always liked Mantis, but I think this is her best appearance in the MCU. And she's the second MVP for me in this movie, along with Drax. Another thing I really liked about this movie, and I talked about in the non-spoilery section, was the villain High Evolutionary. I felt High Evolutionary's motivation was pretty interesting. It's kind of similar to Thanos in some ways. Like, they're not just a bad guy. they do have good intentions to their motivations. Like with Thanos, he wants to wipe out half the population of the entire universe because he thinks by wiping out half the population of the entire universe, it will prevent like starvation and hunger, all these other bad things that happens to worlds and universes. And with High Evolutionary, he wants to create a new civilization that doesn't have any bad people in it. I'm not saying I agree with either Thanos or High Evolutionary, but it's not just like, oh, me evil, me destroy world, or me take over the universe, I want power. It's just a bit interesting. It's a bit more not so black and white with High Evolutionary and even with Thanos. That's why I said they're kind of similar. Plus the performance by the actor was really great. Also, you're really rooting for Rocket when he takes down the person that created him and made him who he was and tortured him and killed his friends. So yeah, great villain, one of the best MCU villains of all time in my opinion. And that's pretty much all I have to say when it comes to the characters and the story. I think I talked about all the characters in the movie and all the Guardians. If I forgot someone, I just want to say I liked all the characters in this movie. Just disappointed by Star-Lord and Gamora's ending, and that's pretty much it. And I was a bit disappointed with Gamora in general. She did get to do really cool things, but I just missed the old Gamora. Also, I can't tell what kind of character she is. Like, I guess she's an anti-hero now. And she's a bit more friendly with the Guardians, I guess. I was expecting her to join the Guardians at the end of the movie, but no, she just goes back to the Ravagers. Alright, so let's talk about the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Based off the post-credits scene, it looks like that they're going to continue the franchise with a new cast of characters. I really hope they're not going to continue the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I really feel like that just needs to end, especially since James Gunn is leaving and the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't going to be the same without him. If they decide to continue the franchise. Like, they didn't have a thing in the end where it says the Guardians of the Galaxy will return like they did with Star-Lord, so maybe I'm wrong and they're not going to continue the franchise. Fingers crossed that they won't continue Guardians of the Galaxy, because they won't be Guardians of the Galaxy without James Gunn. I think he is Guardians of the Galaxy, and without him, I just don't think he should be doing any more movies. Also, by the way, thank goodness James Gunn returned to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because I could not imagine what this movie was going to be like without him. I'm guessing they would have brought in Taika Waititi to direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 if they didn't rehire James Gunn. And if Taika Waititi directed this movie, no offense to him, I just don't think he does well with superhero movies. I don't like Ragnarok, and Love and Thunder is the worst MCU movie of all time in my opinion. I think he would have made Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 give me a really bad headache, and it wouldn't be a proper ending for these characters because James Gunn knows the endings for his characters. Taika Waititi wouldn't know that. Or maybe they wouldn't have gotten Taika Waititi. Maybe they would have gotten someone else. Either way, I'm just glad James Gunn got rehired to complete his Guardians of the Galaxy Volume trilogy and end his characters the way he wanted to.